Yeah, so I've started recording the session. So all of us were present in the last session, and we saw. So basic takeaway of the last session was others can mute the video. Yeah, thank you. So in the last session we saw that what web scraping is and what are the various steps that are involved in scraping different kind of websites. And there we saw that one of the important prerequisites was learning the Python language. So today we will start with the basics of Python. And so I hope everyone has got the Python programming software installed in their machines. Srikar, can you confirm? Right? So, and also, do we have administrative access? Like, can we open command line using administrative access? Hello? Uh, okay, I'll present my screen now. I'm, I'm, I'm presenting my screen now. Okay, I hope it is visible to everyone now, right? So, so I was just saying that today we will start learning Python, and since we have already everyone has already installed the Python software from the site. This one would have been the site where the Python could have been downloaded. So we are currently using Python 3.x, 3 point whatever version you want to use, you can use. So 3.8.5 is the latest version. So we will use Python 3, okay, third version, right? And before we start, let's discuss how we would like to go learning all of these things, right? So since we already installation is already done, we will start with creating a simple Python file, and uh, then we will learn some basic command line Cmd commands, right? Then uh, we will try to run. We will see that how we can run Python through command line. Okay. Then we will see how to run it in IDLE. So there is a default application that comes packaged with Python called IDLE. And then we will also explore that there are other online online IDEs that allow you to run Python without installing Python on your own systems. So you can also run Python online in your browser. There are some sites that allow you to do that. Okay. So just one thing, I after every hour of session, I will just pause the video. Uh, I will just pause for 10 minutes because it takes a lot of time to record and process this video. Uh, the one in the session before took a lot of time to process. So after every 1 hour, I will just pause for 5 minutes and process the recorded video. Okay, I hope that is fine. Uh, right. So let's start. Okay. So I was saying that how our what path we will follow. Okay. So we will understand what Python is, you know, and then what are the basic. If we have heard of programming languages before, we would know that every programming language has its own grammar called the syntax of the language, right? Just like English language has its set of rules, right, in which you can speak. Similarly, every programming language has its own set of rules in which you can program or code such that the computer will understand. Just just so that we all of us can understand what I'm saying is because all of us know the rules of English, and that's why we all can understand that what I'm saying. Similarly, every programming language has its rules, and those rules are called the syntax of the language, right? So, okay. So, what I was saying that if uh, if we have heard earlier about programming languages, if you've heard about C, Java, or any other, these are the basic ones that all of us would have seen at least once in our college times. So we would have seen that are there are many components, of that programming language, like data types, right? So for example, in C we would have seen that integers were there, characters used to be there, right? Strings were there, and then we would see that how operations happen on those data types, right? We will discuss some more Python specific stuff like the reserved keywords, how to define or declare variables in Python. Then we will look at some advanced data types like lists, dictionaries, which are specific to Python, right? We will also discuss that what are the various advantages Python give over other languages. Okay, some are tangible, some are non-tangible. Okay, but you know it has many benefits over other languages, so we will discuss that. All right, and then we will start into coding by doing various operations on those data types, both the advanced data types as well as basic data types. Okay, and then we will understand about the conditional statements, right? Um if else, if, so just want to ask before proceeding further. All of us have a basic idea about what a programming language is, right? I hope everyone has a basic idea. Okay, great. So, yeah. So we will understand how to write conditional statements in Python. If else, if this happens, then do this, something like that. Then we have loops, something we want to do multiple times. Then we don't need to write code multiple times. We can use loops. We would have heard about for loop and while loop, right? We will discuss all of these things specific to Python and how it is implemented here. Then we will also see functions, right? Procedures, how to define procedures which can be reused, right? Which can be reused such that we don't repeat ourselves. Okay. Then we will understand how to do file handling, how to manipulate files, how to read files, and how to write files. Files like text files, CSV files, or our day-to-day Excel files that we use. So those things we will learn. Then we will also understand how to do exception handling. So, for example, uh, there is a scope of error in the process. Then we can also handle that and define the program, or you know that what is to be done in case of those errors occur, right? Then we will understand some object-oriented programming concepts with respect to Python, like how classes are defined and what are objects, what are the how inheritance happens here. Okay, so there are some object-oriented concepts that we will also discuss, on the course. And then there is more awesomeness to Python, right? There are some specific things like list, set comprehensions, or lambda functions, so which are very only limited to Python, and it makes things easier if you want to do data manipulations. So we will discuss that also. and along with discussing, we will practice also all of this, right? And then we will also touch a bit on data processing in Python, data manipulation. So because that is also required, like our uh, our context is web scraping, right? So Python can do a lot of stuff, but here our context is web scraping. We ultimately want to scrape websites, right? So it is also required that we understand how to manipulate data, these data types, which hold the various values, how to manipulate that. So we will also touch upon some basic data processing in Python. Right. So let's start. Okay. So let's introduce. So every word that is written here has a bit of meaning that we will discuss. Like Python is a free, open source, and object-oriented programming language. Okay, free means you can download it for free. Open source means that whatever code is the part of the software that you have downloaded is free and can be used as you like. Basically, so for example, Excel is not a free tool. You will have to pay for it. Plus, it is not open source. So basically, you cannot go and search for its code online. You will not find it. But there are applications for which you will find their source codes also available online, and these are purposefully made available online such that other people can contribute. Right? Such projects are called open source. So Python is one of such projects. Right? Open source is a big advantage because due to it being open source, it is used by a large community, and then it is also whenever you have any issues, the community is there to help you, right? And the third thing is object oriented. A bit of theory we will discuss because that will make us comfortable with what Python is, you know? So object oriented means that uh, it is using objects. Okay, this will get clear when we will discuss object oriented programming, but let's understand like this, that you know I am a human of I am a male of class human, and then I can do some activities. Okay, so let me consider myself as an object. Okay, so any object belongs to a class. Okay, as I said that I am a male object of class humans, and an object can perform some activities, right? I can walk, I can do other things, right? And I may have some attributes like I have black hair or some height, right? So all of these things are replicated, in these language. So we will understand more what object-oriented programming language is, but basically, you can define real life objects as an object, real life, things as an object in the language, right? We will understand more. Then we have that it is a multi-purpose language. So basically, it is used in a variety of tasks in many domains, right? Be it so currently we are doing web scraping, but you can do data manipulation, you can do data engineering, you can do web development, you can do data analytics, you can do visualizations, right? And it is used in many domains. It is used in power sector, it is used in oil and gas, or transportation, any other domain that you will see, people are using it in some form. Okay, it is widely used in developing web applications. So yeah, it is very good programming language, multi-purpose. You can use it in any domain. Right? It has a high-level syntax, which means that it closely resembles English. Right? It's not like Java where you have to write a lot of lines of code to do a simple task. Actually, if you want to print something, you just say print in Python. So it is easier. And then fourth thing is it is an interpreted language, right? So if we would have heard, like we have done Java, we we know that it needs some compilation to JVM, Java, virtual machine. And then only when the compilation happens, like the everything is correct in the program, so a basic compilation time check happens. And if there are no errors, the compilation happens. Only then the program can run. Sometimes the compilation take a lot of time. Okay. So, but in case of Python, you can do it line by line. You can run one line by line, right? So intermediary, I mean, in middle, the Python interpreter takes your code and converts it into bytecode, and then it is further converted into computer understandable, bytecode. That is also bytecode. Okay, so it is an interpreted language, so it makes debugging easy because you can run it line by line. So you can just give instruction on the interpreter, and then it will just run. No need to compile. It is portable. So if you code it in one platform like Windows, you can run it also on Linux or Mac, right? So that is very good feature of this language. It is extensible and integrated, right? So you can use Python. You can write your own Python programs in the middle of C, C++, Java, or R. There are other languages in which you can write Python, and then it will also be compiled to the native language, right? So it can be extensible. Plus, it is integrated, so you can integrate with any other programming language or tools. It has a huge community support, so it can be integrated with a large set of tools. So that is very beneficial, right? Then we have it has a large standard library. So when you download the Python software, it comes pre-packaged with a lot of functions. Okay, those functions are contained in these libraries. Right, we will understand libraries or modules. We will understand what modules are. Okay, so modules basically they store some functionality, and we call those modules to perform some functionalities on whatever objects we will create. This again we would understand in OOPS that why is a large library helpful, because you don't need to install new libraries for your simple tasks. Most of the things. So, for example, if I have to take an example, you can do math stuff, square root, other things here from its own library. You can process CSV files from its own library. You can make online requests using these libraries, right? You can send mails using these libraries. So basically, a lot of functions are already built in the standard library. And on top of that, obviously, it is not written here, but on top of that, since there is a huge community support, right? So almost anything you can think of, there is a module or library available for that. So it really helps us to do any kind of operation. Right? We will also learn how to search for specific libraries that we want to learn, right? How to actually find and use them. We'll also learn that. And the last is dynamical type. Okay. So in case of other languages like Java and C, what we used to do was we used to define like this. Let's say I write here. Uh, yeah, I'll just write here. This is some, let's say, C code. I used to write like this: int some variable name and used to assign some value to it. Okay, this is how I used to define a variable. Here, what I used to do was I had to define this particular data type. Int is the data type, and this is variable name, and this is the assigned value. Here, what happens is that I don't need to do this int thing. Okay, I can directly say abc equal to 1. I also don't need to put some this semicolon here, right? So this is more clean, right? even I can do this cbd equal to some text. Okay, so it is very easy. I don't have to define that it is a string and then it is some text. Okay, or it is a character array and it holds some text. Okay, so I don't need to do this all of these things in Python, because these type you know conversions, or what we say, these types are defined at runtime. Okay, so when this particular line is run, only then this variable will be assigned this type, the type of integer. So it is done. Okay, so since there is no compilation, it doesn't need to do that, and it can dynamically take the type of data which is on the right side. Okay, so that is why it is called a dynamically typed language. You don't need to declare variable type as opposed to other languages like C or Java, right? So next, I hope you all have understood what Python is, right? So I will proceed further. I hope there are no doubts until now. So if anyone has any doubt, please, you can just type it here or unmute and ask me, right? I will just proceed now. Okay. So the next is that again we discussed in a bit ago, but this is what we will learn. The topics that we will learn in Python, that is data types, in float, integer, float, string or boolean, right? Int is integer, float is the decimal value, string is a set of characters, boolean set, or set is a very, so you can say that it is just a collection of some characters. Boolean is a logical variable, a logical type. So Boolean is either 0 or 1. Okay, 0 or 1 we call Boolean, where 0 is false and 1 is true. So we will see how this looks like coming further. Operators. So operators are basically predefined, uh, you know, symbols, you can say, which would do some particular operation. So it is very similar to normal, like if it, like plus is an operator, this is how we do plus, this is how we do minus. So these are kind of operators, but these symbols are known in Python. Python understands that this is plus and this is minus, right? So yeah, so we can do addition, division, and there are so many operators that we will see in the coming lectures, right? So we will see what variables are. We will see the reserved keywords that are already there in Python and void split characters. We will see what list, dictionaries, and sets are. We will do some operations on these advanced data types, like how to assign and how to append a element in list, how to access values from a dictionary, uh, how to access values from a set, how to remove, or some different type of operations we can do, right? Then we will go to conditional statements, then loops, then functions, then file handling, exception handling, and finally some object oriented programming concepts, right? So now I think before going into Python, what we can do, all of us, is try to learn how to use command line. Do all of us know how to use command line, the cmd? All of us, right? Okay. So yeah, so I think since it is, I think it would not take time, and we should refresh it, because some of us do not know how to use it, and it is not very difficult. But let's see how to do it. This particular screen is called command line. So I will just close it for now. And I would request everyone to follow this. If you will follow this along, then I think it should be helpful. Okay, if you type the commands that I am typing, and it would make sense, right? So I hope you will follow. I mean, uh, it would be very helpful. Let's do it. Okay. So I will just type CMD in my search, and command prompt will open. Right. I will open it as, I can see either I can right click and run as administrator. Okay, and or I can just see here run as administrator. So I will do run as administrator. So it would ask for permission, and then this command line, command prompt, we call it command prompt, will open. Right. So let's discuss very shortly, what I mean, how this is useful. We will only do a few commands that is useful for file traversing, directory traversing. So a directory is basically a folder. You know, we have basically three commands. One is cd, okay. Second is mkdir, and third is dir. Okay, something happened with dir. So let's discuss what this is. Has everyone opened this command prompt? I would request that you please follow along. Okay. So you can see that the firstly I right, great. So you will see I will just do a CLS because there is already something here. CLS is basically whatever is here. I will just clear it. Okay. So this is how it will open for the first time. You may have a different path structure here, and that is fine. Wherever you want to open this. So let's say I am here and I just say command prompt here. I can see that I could open the command prompt in this directory. So it doesn't matter where it opens. That is fine. That is what we will discuss, that how to traverse through the file structure. Okay. So I am in C Windows system. Okay. If I go here in my folder, I think this screen should be somewhat, I mean, when we were young, uh, we would have heard about DOS. Earlier when GUI was not there, I mean this is like a user interface for us. When this was not there, computers used to have only this, and everything that you want to do on a computer, you had to do through here. Like, if you had to make a directory, so how we do it currently? We right click and we go to new and we say folder, and then we type the folder name. Okay, right? Okay, and this folder is created. But earlier what we had to do was we had to execute commands like mkdir and then say folder name. Okay, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is that earlier everything used to happen through this command line. Even today, I mean, in the background what happens is that there are a set of commands running, you know and those commands are actually making all of these things. I mean, even when I'm clicking this Google Chrome here, what it does is actually just does chrome.exe, right? Okay, it is not recognized because I will have to go to the folder. Let's say it is here. I'll just show you this small example and then we will start doing, you know, we'll follow along. But let's see this example once. I have Google here, I have Chrome here, and I have application here, and I can see Chrome here. Okay. So I'll just do something here. I'll just change the directory to this one, right? And now I can see that I can just say chrome.exe. And when I say that, I have a new tab open. Okay. So ultimately, what happens in the background is this particular command is executed. This whole particular command is executed. So ultimately, this means is that we can do anything using this particular black screen just by using some commands, right? So that is what we will do. In context of Python, we only want to be able to run a Python program through command line and create directories and just change directories. So only 3 or 4 things we will learn. Okay. So let me start writing it here. Okay. So I will just say command line uh, cmd commands. Let's say cmd commands. Okay. So the first one I will write is change directory. Change directory. And it is done using cd. Okay, cd space the path here. Okay. Second is listing the directory can't type directory elements. Okay, this is done using dir. This is only for Windows. Okay, now since we are using Windows only, so we don't need to worry about other operating system for now. And the third one is creating a directory. Only these three we will learn because only these three we will require. Because there are thousands and so many commands for different kind of things that you can do on command line. But it doesn't make sense to learn all of that, and so we will only learn what is required by us. Okay? So we will say mkdir directory name, right? And fourth one that I showed you was clearing the screen. It's called CLS. Okay. So let's do this. Okay. Now let's say I am somewhere and I wanted to run a Python script which was here. Okay. Which was this one, datafetcher.py. Let me just so let's say I'm in currently in this directory. So I want to change the directory and go to this particular directory. What I can do is I can just copy this, right? Say cd here, start quotes, paste it here, and end quotes, and just click enter. I will now be in this directory. Okay, I have reached this directory. When this particular text that is shown here confirms that I am in this directory now. Earlier I was in this directory. Okay, and we could see that the Chrome was there. That is why we could do Chrome, but in this directory Chrome is not there, so it will throw me an error. Okay, Chrome is not recognized. Right. So I was able to successfully change my path, right? And then I can list what all elements are there in this. So secondly, I said that I can list. Why all of this is necessary is because uh, it's faster to do it here and you will get a gist. Sometimes you won't have GUI on the systems where you will run this. So that is why it is beneficial. Okay. So if I wanted to list all the elements here, I would just say dir. Okay, dir. And dir lists all the things that are available in this directory. So whatever is here is also shown here. Okay. So dir just outputs this. Okay. The third thing is if I want to create a directory, right? Obviously I can do right click and create the directory. But if I want to create a directory in this script in this particular folder, I can use the command mkdir and say that sample. Okay, just the directory name. I could see that a sample directory was created here. Okay, then again I can go to the sample. If I wanted to change directly, I could do directly cd sample, or I could do, let me change it back, I could do cd and this thing. Okay, so this is the shortcut. Anywhere you are, you can just copy the path and say, and you will reach that directly, right? So currently we are only seeing C here, but say I wanted to, I don't have other drives also, but let's say I wanted to go to D, then I would just type D colon, okay, and then I will go to D directly. Right? This is something special. Okay, in case you want to change the volumes, the drives. We have local disk here, then there is D drive, F drive. So you want to change the drives, you can directly type the drive name, let's say F and colon. Okay, F will not be accessible, so it will throw an error because there is nothing in F. It is a DVD drive. So I will just cancel it. Actually, it opened my DVD, you know, so just close it once. Just open a new one. Also, these commands which I have shown is not case sensitive. So you can type it in capitals or you can type it in small. Let's see, if I type it in capital also, it will give me the same result. Okay. CD, if I do CD dash dash, it takes me to the previous directory where I already was. Okay, so this has been gone, right? So I just write it here, go to previous directory, and we say CD dash dash. Okay, this is just one directory before the current directory I'm in. Go to one level up in directory. Okay, so let's say I want to go one more level up. I reached C. Okay, and then I want to go again to documents and the MMT scraper folder. How I will do? See, if let me clear it. If I came here and I have no idea, I don't have a GUI, and I want to understand that how I should reach to that folder where MMT scraper is there. What I will do is I will just list the directory, and I saw that all of these things are here. So there is a user folder. So I will go to users folder, and then I will again list the directories. I will see that I have Anup here. So I will go to Anup. Then I will again list. I saw that I have this documents folder here. Okay, I will go to documents. Then I will again list. I saw that there is MMT scraper here. I will go to MMT scraper. And then I again listed and found that finally I am here. Okay, so this is how, even though I did not have any GUI, I could come here, and now from here I can run the data fetcher program. Okay. Data fetcher 0908. So, sorry, it would also take Python. Okay. So anyway, the point is we could now run the program, right, coming into this directory. So this is all for, I mean, these are some basic commands, 3 or 4 commands that you need to understand. Okay. Mostly you will only use change directory, or you know uh, this one. You will only change directories, I guess, because when you want to run a Python program, you only need to run this command that I am showing you. Okay. So I will just type running a Python command. Python command to run a .py script. Okay. So what we do, we write Python and script जो भी है script name .py, and if there are any arguments to the So we will also understand what these arguments are. Okay, but this is how we will write. Okay, so what I wrote here was uh, this one, Python, right? Python space. This is the program that I want to run, and this is the argument, right? Argument basically a parameter on which I want to run this program. This is an additional parameter that I am giving to the script based on which it will run, like an external input, like a user input, right? So these arguments are nothing but user inputs. Okay. So simply I think we've already run this once, but if I just click it, we will see that it starts and do the same procedure that we saw uh, one day back. Right? So yeah, it just started. Right? So all I wanted to show you here is how you can change path on this particular thing, right? And how you can run a Python program. This thing we will do again and again a lot of times. Okay, if we are not already using uh, an online interpreter, or ideally, then we will create a script, we will save it by .py, and then we will run it. Okay, so let's do it live. Okay, I'm I so let this is a simple file. Okay, so what I did, I'll just show you how to create a simple Python file and run it. So I will just simply say that for I in range, this is some Python program. I am simply writing a loop. Okay, and basically this loop prints some numbers. Okay, in the range of 1 to 20, right? So this is kind of a Python program, Python 2 lines of Python code I've written. What it does is it iterates in this range 0 to 20, and it just prints them. So once I've written this code, what I do is I control S, control save it, right? I hope everyone has this particular editor also, Sublime Text, because it just makes our task easier, right? So let me just save it in pxil work folder and say that sample.py. Okay, this .py is the Python extension, and this is very important. If this is not there, then Python would not be able to understand what this file is, and you have to save it as type all files. Okay, sure you could save it yourself as a Python file, but since you already know the extension, you could just put it yourself .py. Okay, file name .py, right? And now I save it. When I saved it, I saw that why this text editor is useful, because it gave me very nice. This is called code highlighting, right? For keywords, for Python's internal keywords and variables and reserved keywords. It colored it and gave me some idea about what I have written here, right? So now that I've created a program in Python, right? How I will run it is simple, the same way. Now we can see that the scraper ran when we did it. This particular command we ran. Similarly, now we want to run the sample.py. But sample.py is available in pxil work, okay, and we are in MMT scraper. So how would we reach there? We would just list it and see that pxil work is not here. Definitely it would be in the folder above it. So we'll just go one folder above by typing cd dot dot, right? When we enter it, we will reach documents, and I see that it is in documents. So if I list it once, okay, I already know, but I just just trying these things so that you can also follow along. If I type dir, I saw that pxil work is here, and now I can change directory and say pxil work, right? And I am here, and in here when I say dir, I found that the sample.py is here. Okay, right? So if it is very simple now. I will just have to type Python and say sample.py. Since I am already in that folder where this particular file is there, I can simply type python sample.py. Okay. And when I click this, I saw that from 0 to 19, I have these numbers printed, right? But what I saw was that I had to only type python space the file name. I did not have to put any user argument. So let me just show you once how that happens. Just because we will do all of this again, but I'm just want to show you this. Okay, so we have just imported a module called sys. We will understand this in detail, but let's just do this one now. Input and not input in and say sys dot argv1. Okay, just the simple line of code. And here what I say, rather than input, I say int of in. Okay, let's say it as input number. Let's make it more verbose so that it is easier for us to understand. Whenever we will write code, we will try to use variables which are very verbose, which are very easy to understand by everyone. Now what I see is that if I run this program, right, sample.py, it's saying that list index out of range. So basically it was expecting a input. Okay, if I say 15, I can say that it only printed 0 to 15 numbers. If I say 29, I, I saw that now it put from printed from 28 till 28. So I could now put a user argument, right? What I did was I was sending one more argument, you know. So that is what I've written here. If you want to put any number of arguments, you can just do it here. Space argument you can put. Okay. So now we have seen that how we can also give user arguments, I mean user defined arguments to the script. Right? There are other methods, we will discuss all of that. There are other methods to take user inputs, but this is one of the methods. Right. So I think our basics are fine now. We can proceed with the actual Python topic. I hope till now everything is clear. I hope some of these commands you would have also tried on your own machines, right? So should I proceed? Should I proceed further? Yeah. Okay. Great. Great, everyone. Right. So now that we have a basic idea of the command line tools, we can proceed further. Just give me a second. Okay, so let's proceed. Right. So in Python, we have some basic data types. Again, it is same as any other language. The basic data types are almost same. There are integers like 1 to 3. Float type. Float type is basically decimal type variables. Okay, it has a decimal point in between. And then we have string types, PXI, EDF, and then we have Boolean type. Boolean type is either true or false, 0 or 1. Okay, so I think basic data types are pretty simple, right? Uh, so before we proceed further, just want to know one thing. So how do we want to do it? Do we want to do it in one more thing I would like to show before asking this question, that Python. if you, I hope everyone has installed this particular version of Python. So because there is some mismatch, right, in what I am using. I am using Anaconda. I'll just show, although it's not very relevant right now, but I'll show. Anaconda is like, the bigger version of Python, and it is managed by a particular company. So that is why this particular version is obviously very large, but it comes packaged with all the machine learning, toolkits and data science toolkits, right? So if you want to do data science or machine learning, obviously, you would download this. But I, started with this basic Python package that, is given by the Python Software Foundation, because this is basic and it has enough things for us to, start learning, right? So if you all will open, searching your own computers, when you would type ideally, there would kind of a Python program will open. Okay. uh, can anyone confirm this, that when you search ideally here, you would have, this kind of this screen open, right? So this is open, right, everyone? Great. So this is called Python shell or Python interpreter, right? The same thing I can also open here just by saying Python. And now you can see that this Python interpreter is a Conda environment. But I have this same thing. Open here. So either I could use this or I could use this. So how to, how to differentiate between if we are using the interpreter or we are using the command line, is that whenever you are using interpreter, you will have these three arrows. When these three arrows you will see, it means that you can type line by line code, right? So if I say print uh, hello into 5, it would just print hello, 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 hello 5 times. Okay, right? So it just executed this particular line of statement. If I just copy it and paste here, I will see this. Okay, just one thing. Uh, this one space was there, so I just removed it. So again, the same thing happened here, right? So you can either work here or work here, depends on wherever you like. But again, I prefer here because I don't need to open a particular separate program to do the same thing when I can do it in command line itself, right? So, right, just by typing Python, my interpreter was open. So I'm going to use this. You can use this, whichever you like. Okay. So let's proceed. Right. We discussed data types. Right. So let's just see how to how these look in Python. Right. If I just type one, it is one. Right. Uh, just a second. Okay. So starting from scratch, if I just type one, I get an output. Whatever is there after this arrow, you click enter. That is the output of that, particular line of statement. So I type one, I type two. We have just two. Similarly, I type 1.2. This is just 1.2. But if I say type of one, what it says, it says class int, right? It tells me that there is some integer class defined, and one is an instance of that class. Okay, one is a number, and it is an integer. If I say class of 1.2, sorry, not class, type of 1.2, it says float. So what we can see here is that even though I had to do nothing and just type 1, Python was able to determine and understand that particular, whatever we type, which class did it belong to, right? Was it an integer? Was it a float? Let's say I type ABC, ABC in strings, obviously. Okay, otherwise it would be variable. And I say type of ABC, I would find that it is a string, right? So all I'm trying to say is this is dynamic feature that only after you had pressed enter after typing ABC, Python had to determine that if this was a string and it was dynamically assigned, right? If we would remember that those numbers in those basically uh, what we say types, integer, string, or character or float, this was mentioned before the variable to define how much space it would take in memory. But Python does it by itself. We don't need to define that you have to take this particular amount of space in memory. Python will dynamically allocate that space, right? So all this means is that you know all of this is recognized. These are proper elements, even though it looks as numbers to us, but it belongs to some particular classes, right? Here we can see it is from string class, right? So these basic data types have a particular class which they belong to, right? That particular class is actually the data type itself. We will understand what a class is, okay? But for now, let's understand that it is just a classification, a section, okay, in which all of these things are present. And then there is Boolean type, right? I can do the same thing and type true, sorry, true, and it would say true. If I say false, it would say false. Again, same funda. True and false are understood by Python. What is true? It is of class Boolean, right? So it is a Boolean object. Okay. Just one statement I would like to say that everything is an object in Python. So how Python is designed, everything is a part of a class. So you can see that even though we are seeing here very basic stuff like number 1, 2 or 1.2 or a simple, very simple string or a simple Boolean object, we can see that they still belong to some class. I mean, they are objects. Okay. What happens is that in programming terms, object is always an instance of a class. Instance means basically a copy. Okay. Let's say you were God and you had to create humans, right? And you wanted to do it programmatically, right? What you will do in object-oriented way is that you will define a blueprint. Okay, a blueprint of human, right? You will define what features human can have, what attributes it can have, what function it can do, right? And you will just keep that blueprint somewhere, right? Now, since that blueprint is a human, now you have to create copies of human. What you would do, you would create an object, of that class. So an object would be another human, a copy of that class itself, right? But it would um, so basically it would hold all the properties of the class it is using, basically the what it belongs to, right? Now from the next time, all we will have to do is reference that blueprint and assign a name. Let's say something Ajay or whatever. So you will have a new person, right? Next time also you will have to just assign a name, right? So you will have another person. So that is how classes and objects work, right? Object is always an instance of a class. So basically there is some definition which is, which defines the blueprint. So let's say there is a string class. So string, what a string is defined in this class, right? How it is to be recognized, right? And ABC is an instance of this class. So basically, whatever, so basically when I'm saying human, whatever blueprint may जो भी define हुआ है, whatever has been defined in the blueprint that I can do all of these functionalities. Obviously, Ajay can also do that functionalities, or someone else can also do the functionalities because they are instance of that class. They are also human, right? So this particular thing ABC can do all the things that a string can do. A string type thing can do. An int type thing can do all the things that you know this one can do or two can do. So, for example, you cannot do 2 plus a b c, right? It would throw an error. It would say that unsupported operand time. So it says that integer and string belong to different classes. Basically, they are not supported. They cannot be added, right? So there was no definition for string in string class that it can be added to an integer, right? There was no definition, right? So if in the blueprint it is not defined that humans can swim, then humans can never swim. Okay, Ajay will not be able to swim, right? So it is not defined that an integer can be added with a string, right? So it would not be possible, right? So we're just understanding some basics here that would obviously get more clear. Okay, we just wanted to show that even a basic thing like 1.2 belongs to some class, okay, class, and is an object of that class. Okay, so this is how we will understand for now. Okay, I hope this is clear. Whatever I've just explained. If there are any doubts, please let me know. Can you proceed further? So, did everyone understand the concept of a class and object? I tried to explain it in a simpler term, right? That's great, great, awesome. So let's proceed. Okay. So again, we saw that this we've already seen, and while doing it, we also did a simple operation. We tried to do a plus, okay, and we got an error, right? Because it was not possible to add a number object and a string object, right? Just give me a second. Yeah, sorry. So we will what we will do is we will explore what these operators are and how it works. So until now you would have seen that we did not have to make any effort in Python in terms of how we used to code in other languages, right? Uh, we had to first define what data types they were, and then we had to write some other statements as well, to finally at least print it on a console window, such kind of window we used to use. So even to do those simple things, we had to do a lot of stuff. But we can see here that we can execute each line separately, and that is very, easy and helpful when we are learning, right? It is important. Obviously, later we can, write bigger programs and run the way we saw using Python space, the scraper name and whatever input we want to put. So now let's explore. Okay, the operators. So operators are basically they do operations between these data types, right? Addition can be an operation between integer data types and a 1 plus 2, 3 plus 4. Subtraction can be done between numbers, right? Integer data types or float data types. Multiplication, division, right? Floor division, exponent, module, right? Until modulo, all of these operations can be done on numbers, and numbers can be integer or float. You know, either it can be a integer or a again decimal type. So all of these operations can be done until modulo. Obviously, unequal to, lesser than, these are also numerical operations, but these operations can be specifically used for string type or Boolean type also, right? So if I say here ABC is lesser than, sorry, ABC is less than equal to ABC, I saw that it is true, but if I say ABCD, uh, okay, it checks a few elements. ABD less than or equal to, okay, ABB is false because it's basically just checking that if AB is common and C, is before D, so it is saying true. Here C is after B, so it is saying false, right? So simply all I'm saying is that even these strings have some operations, right? This could also happen with numbers. So it says one is less than true, one is greater than two is false, right? So these are some simple operations. Let me just clear this out once and let's start from scratch. Okay. So let's first do some operations on integer types. Okay. Simply we will just do a few steps to understand how it works. 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 5, it's 8, right? Very simple. 1 minus 2, 1 minus 4 minus, let's say, 83. How much is it? 80 indentation error. We will also understand what is this indentation error. So this is minus 86, right? Okay. So plus we can do, minus we can do. We can also do plus and minus. 1 plus 6 minus 4. Okay. So this is also, all of these are called expressions. Okay. Expressions. These expressions are evaluated by the interpreter and the result is given. Okay. This is another expression. This expression consists of a plus operation as well as a subtraction operation. So two operations we have seen. Right? Similarly, if I do it on float 2.5 and then I add 3 point something and then I subtract 1 point something, then this will give me a result in that format only. Okay, right? So this addition and as well as subtraction happened here. What are the rest of them? There is multiplication, division, which is very again same. Just let's do it for quickly. 1 by 2 is 0.5. 2 by 3 is 0.666 and 15 by 3 is 5.0. Okay, and 15 by 4, 15 by 4 is 3. So let's understand what's happening here. Okay, B, let's do one more thing. 4 into 3 and 6 into 2 point something, right? So we will see all of these what we did. Okay, here though we simply did some operation on decimal data type and the result was a decimal data type only, right? Okay. Then what we did some division and we did 1 by 2. Okay, 1 divided by 2, it gave me 0.5. When I said 2 divided by 3, it gave me simply 0.666. When I said 15 divided by 3, it gave me again but 5.0. Okay. So whenever you are using this division, simple division, it would always give you, like, let's see what it is. Type of 15 by 3. It says float. So even though I divided integer by integer, it ultimately gave me a type of float, right? Because this particular operator, this division operator, would always result in a number of type class float, right? So these are small things that we will observe and we don't have to remember this, but it makes us easy to understand how things are going, how things are happening. So if I had said 15 by 4, so it would have been 3.75, right? Okay. But if when I said 15 divided by 4, I had 3 here. So we will discuss what's happening here. 15 by 3. So whenever we are doing normal division, right, we will always get a number which is a class float. I mean, we will get a decimal point number. Always when we are using simple division. Even when we are doing 1 by 1, we will get the answer as 1.0. Okay. And we would be able to see that even the class of 1 by 1 is a float, even though these two are integers. Right. But even if we divide integer by integer always, right? So this is what I'm saying. Regardless of the type of variable you are using, the result will always be a float type. But when we are doing this double division, it is saying it is called floor division. It will always result as an integer. Okay, and integer which is the floor, which is on the floor. Basically, we could have I don't know, step function if we know, or definitely you would be knowing that. So step function we have the floor and ceiling, right? So we will take the floor. So that is what is happening here. When 15 divided by 4 is done, it says 3.75. But the floor is only 3. The ceiling is 4. Ceiling for this is 4, but floor is 3. So when I do a double, floor division, it gives me 3. Similarly, if I do 21 divided by 4, it would give me 5. And 21 divided by 4 otherwise would be 5.25, right? So this is a simple difference between these two type of operators. That is why I have written it separately. So addition we have seen, subtraction we have seen, multiplication, division, and division, floor division, right? Then we have exponent, right? So let's say I want to raise any number to a power. Let's say I want to raise 4 to a power of 4 cube. Yeah, acha, okay, let me see. Sure, sure. Font size. Is this fine? This one. Is this fine, everyone? Right. Yeah, please let me know whenever there is some issue such like this. That is good. So what we did was we are just exploring these operators. So let's say I want to raise a number to some power, right? I want to do cube of 4. We did 4 star star 3. So this star star operator is called the exponent operator. So let's say I wanted to do 2 star star 8, right? I wanted to raise 2 to the power 8. I could do it very easily. I wanted to raise 2 to the power 10, right? One type 2 to the power 10, then it would be 1024. Okay, so this is another operator, right? You cannot do this operation on obviously text. You can do that, but simple like not this, because it is only supported for integer type, right? Okay, so 2 dot 4 power of 10. You could have also done it this. Sorry. Mm, so there is one more method. I can't remember it, but yeah, there is one more method through which you can do it. Obviously, it's not relevant right now, but you cannot do this operation for string because it is only relevant for integers. Right? So the next one is modulo. Modulo. This is modulo operator. What it does is gives the reminder. Okay. So if I do 5 modulo 2, it says 1 because if 5 is divided by 2, the remainder is only 1. If I say by 4, sorry, uh, modulo 4, it would give me 3 because 4 to the 8 and then 3 is the remainder, right? 25 by 11, sorry, 25 by 11 gives me 3 because 11 into 2 is 22 and 3 is the remainder, right? So whenever we want to get the remainder, we do this operator of modulo. So that is called a modulo operator. Obviously, this cannot be used on, uh, let's try some float numbers. Cannot be used on strings, but let's try some float numbers. Divided by 2 modulo 2, it gives me 0.75, right? If I say 11.56 modulo 3, it gives me 2.56. So it gives me the exact remainder which is left from the actual number, right? So I hope this is fine. Next is equal to. Right? Equal to is operator, but which is more of a check. So if I do 1 equal to 2, it says false. So basically it's kind of a check, but you can do it for multiple type of all of these data types. So let's say I say 1.2 equal to 2.4, obviously it is false. 1.2 is equal to 1, it is false. Okay, so you can also compare float data type to a simple integer data type, right? So equal to, I mean, the rest of operations you can also compare integer type to a float type. Okay. So similarly, if 2 equal to 2, that is true, and 2.4 equal to 2.4 is equal to true. Okay, 3.4. Right. So we have seen all of these operations. Similarly, we have unequal to. I'll just type all of them one by one. If 3.4 not equal to 3.4, if not equal, this will be false because they're actually equal, right? 3.5, not that this is true. This expression is true, and this expression is false. So whatever expression is here is directly being evaluated. Okay. Again, we have not started any Python coding yet. We're only exploring the variables and seeing the operations that are happening there. Unequal to, we have seen. Lesser than, again, not very different. 1 less than 2 is true. 2 less than 1 is false. Okay, right? Less than or equal to, again, works similarly. Greater than or greater than equal. Let's just try greater than equal to. 2 greater than equal to 1 is true. 2 is greater than 3 is equal to false, right? So I think we have tried all of these operators. Obviously, let's try one or two string types. Okay, string types. Let's say def123 is greater than def321, right? It says false because obviously def is common, but 123 is lesser than 321, right? So, I mean, that's not exactly how it sees which one is bigger. There is some underlying thing because these are some ASCII characters, these have some value. So, this is also checked, and then these are also checked. So, since this is common, it is checking like this. But if I was doing, E, F, G, and 1, 2, 3, so now the last one is common. That this is also false because E is greater than D. But if I was doing greater, then this would have been true. Because obviously, I mean, you can see that some part of it is common and it is only checking the rest of the part. So it starts with D and this starts with E. Obviously, E is bigger than D, right? So it is true. And D is smaller than E. Here it is false. Right, so we have also, again, true is less than false. This does not make sense, right? So, but it is false. It's like, you know, So uh, mm, false is greater than true is false, right? So, I mean, this makes sense to some extent because false is 0 and true is 1, right? So, it is opposite. But yeah, you will get the idea, right? Hmm. So, yeah, let's proceed further. Till now, does anyone have any doubt? Sorry, I did not see it. Right, so no issues, na? Okay. Exponents, right? So it is very simple. This is the operator, double star. Okay. Let's say you want to raise 1.25 to the power of 8. So you would simply do this. And this is the result, right? Raising to a power. So let's say if you wanted to do 1.25 raised to the power 8, and then you wanted to raise this as well to the power of 2, right? You would do it like this. Okay. 5.96 was squared to get this number, right? So I hope this is clear. Can you also please, can we round up also these values? Round, yeah. Yeah, so we will come to all of these operations, right? I think I can do this. Mm, I think so. I don't remember the syntax, all of it very well, but let me. Okay, so you can round it like this. So we will go, through all these functions. Again, when you use all of this in daily life, then you remember how to do it, right? So you remember it, but otherwise, always you can just Google how to round numbers. So if I did not know, I could just search how to round a number in Python, right? So the I will get a lot of links. I will select one. Obviously, I should find a Stack Overflow link, but if it is not available, I can also go to the links and just see how it is implemented. Right? I can see that obviously how we implemented it. Round the number we want to round and up to how many places we want to round. Okay. So if I wanted to round it up till 6 places, it would have rounded me up till 6 places. Right? So obviously we can always do a Google search. We will also learn how to do a Google search because that is also important. Because not all of the things we can debug and solve by ourselves. So there will be times when we will have to do Google search, and then we will do that also, right? So I hope this one is clear. Yeah, Srikar is totally correct. Okay, the number and number of digits you can put. Right. I hope until now everything is clear. So I will just want to take a 10 minutes pause because I would need to process this video. Otherwise, it takes a lot of time, right? I hope we can wait for 10 minutes. So I'll just stop presenting for 10 minutes, and until then you can ask me if you have any doubts, and I'll just process this video. Okay.